Again. So again, good morning. Good morning to everyone. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. And the session this morning is an introduction to a new program that Action Coach Jamaica through MWC Associates Limited will be offering to our clients in Jamaica. What happens with us from time to time is we review not only the programs, but we review the programs in the context of what's happening with our clients. What are your new needs? How have other programs served you? And so what is best for you at this time? So many of you are well familiar with Action Coach and our programs. Most of you already online, and that quite a number of you who've registered have been through one of our programs at least. And so you understand that what happens in our program ladder is that there may be a gap in terms of you've transitioned from one program but may not quite be ready for the next. So we're always looking at how it is that we could have a full suite of programs that you could benefit from. And so this is one of them that we looked at to create for you for 2021. And it's in the context of filling any spaces that we see based on needs that clients have, and whether we have programs that fill your needs, but also in the context of the kind of year that we have had and what kind of program would best suit companies moving forward. And so this was created with that in mind. As I mentioned before, most of you already online already know who we are at Action Coach Jamaica and who we are as a global company. However, just very briefly, again, we are the world's number one business coaching firm, still the world's number one business coaching firm. And we continue to grow in terms of not just regions, but actually countries in which we have representation. So you'll see that there in terms of just the number of businesses that we're coaching each week. And interestingly, particularly in 2020, there has been quite an expansion of the number of business coaches that have been registering. What's happened in some territories, in some countries, is that there's been a deeper penetration of coaches. And so that helps us to now have clients and coaches in more geographic areas across the globe, but specifically in some locations. So we continue to be a firm that is growing globally, and Jamaica continues our performance as one of the top firms, not only in our Americas region, but continues to benchmark in leading in some areas. And we always share that information with you from time to time. I have personally worked with a number of you who are on the call, and there are others who may be familiar with me. However, I've not worked with you before. So just a little bit of background about who I am. So I'm Coach Arlene Martin, and I have been an action coach now for 5 years. As you know, MWC Associates is a coaching firm that does business coaching, leadership coaching, as well as employee engagement. And in addition to being a certified action coach, I'm also a certified John Maxwell team coach on areas of leadership. However, not with employee engagement. With our Engage and Grow program, we still have a couple of other coaches in that area. In the 5 years that I've been with Action Coach, I have been in the top 50 of firms globally, top 10 regionally a few times. I'm a business owner like you, so can relate to quite a number of things that you're going through, and particularly even the impact of 2020 on businesses. And one of my clients was a Business Excellence Forum Award winner a couple of years ago. Something that I'm very proud of, and that's just a little bit in terms of who I am. Outside of work, I have 5 children via 3 sisters. So yes, they're my sister's children, however, still mine. And always like to share too that I'm a Christian to the extent that it influences how I interact with persons, but just the values that I approach coaching and business with generally. Prior to being a coach, I should mention that I did international consulting, coming from a background of international trade and promotion, particularly in exports and with an interest in agriculture, interestingly. So that's a little bit about me. What I'd love for you to do now in the chat feature in the box is if you could put in there your name and your company name, and would love to hear how long you've been in business. You may also open microphones and share, however, just to keep it going and for people to be able to refer to once they join to see who else is on the call or to remember, we'd love for you to put it in chat. So please put in the chat box there your name and your company. And as you're putting that in, so waiting to see the chats come in, please, of who you are, who's on the call. So inviting everyone, please, to just share there your name and your company name. It also helps, as we do with all of our programs, to facilitate networking so that people begin to be able to reach out to other persons. So when you put your company name where it sends a message as to what business you're in, then someone may be able to contact you for one reason or another. And also we'd like to know how long it is that you have been in business. So we have 10 years in business for the Photoshop. Hello, Dean. Not sure if you're joining in from Montego Bay. Hope the weather is lovely there. Nice having you online. So we have a real estate broker online as well. So welcome, Paula, to our session. And wow, a very, very new business, even though you've been in the industry for some time now. So please, again, you'll see the kinds of businesses that people are in. So please share your name, your company name in the chat so that we know who you are and how long it is that you've been in business, but also definitely share the company name. So that people know who you are. One of the very relevant services that we have now is toddler care. So hello, Sabrina, nice having you online for our session. So even as I continue to move to another slide or to have discussions, I'd love for you, please continue entering in the chat your name, your company name, and how long you've been in business. And what I would encourage is, as persons look at that to get a sense of who's on, who might you want to reach out to at some point. You can probably just take a picture of the person's information so that you can look them up after, or even through us here at Action Coach. Afrika is online. You may just ask for an introduction to another person who's online. So you can just snap a picture of that, as I mentioned, whether it's as a screenshot or using your phone, and you can follow up if it is that you'd like to be introduced to another person if you don't already know someone or that particular person who's on. So thank you very much. I see that these keep coming in. We have someone who just registered a business this month. So happy 30 days in business. Today is the 1st of December. And we have Rhonda. Hi, Rhonda. Been in business already 20 years. So there's a variation, and that shows that regardless of how long it is that you're in business, that there are certain services that are common for all of us, certain services that are beneficial, and that we can all be in the same community. So that's something that is quite interesting. So just keep looking out for those. Now, what I'd love for you to share now is, and again, you can share that in the chat, is why are you here? So we reached out to you and you may have received, so this is a question for you. So you would have received an email, you may have received a phone call, probably had a couple of conversations with Andreen where she shared with you what this program is about and why specifically we have contacted you. So even in the persons that we've reached out to, that was also very specific based on the kind of program that we've designed. So what I'd love for you to put in the chat is, why are you here? Why did you respond? So it could be from the perspective of what's happening internally with your business in terms of where you are. So it could be that I completed one program, ready to move on to another phase, etc. Or it could be external factors where, based on what's happening now, either in our economy or space, or what's happening globally, you'd like to better prepare your company for the future. It could be based on the lessons that we've had for 2020. So you may have been working on building a business with a particular vision based on certain assumptions of how the market is, how your industry is, and 2020 has changed some things. So maybe you have to go back to review your business, or you're remaining the same, but you realize that it's important to build an even more resilient business based on the lessons that we've learned. So please put in the chat for us there why you have joined this session today. What do you hope to get out of it? Not so much the session, but why are you interested in hearing about a new program? So please feel free to continue adding, even though I might move to another slide, continue adding comments there, and then we can see what is common, where things are relevant, etc. So in terms of feedback, seeing where you're restructuring a business, that's a good reason to be on and looking at something else. Looking for strategies in a difficult time, even though you've already done something with us. And that's, again, that's something that we realize too could be one of the reasons you may want to re-engage, is you've done some things. However, what else could you do? Some of the things that you may want to be looking at. New business, you want to learn as much as possible to start that new business, and then you've done the program before. However, there have been a couple of limitations and things have happened. New environment, new normal, so new learning, and that's really some of the things that we're considering when we think about it. So I'm glad that you have it here, because we can refer to some of your reasons as we go through the program in terms of how it could be relevant to you based on where things are and why you are here, and why it doesn't matter in terms of the things that you're going to be covering are going to be essential when we look at that. So thank you very much for sharing, and please continue to put that information in so that we can refer to it and get a sense of who's on and what some of the needs are. Again, you can relate to persons in terms of, are you in the same space? Are you experiencing the same things? Are some of the things that you can also learn as well. So right now, this is December. We're in December 2020. And interestingly, at the end of the last 2-3 years, we've looked at how it is that we assess programs looking into the next year. And so it's always about, where will you be in the next 12 months? So we're at December 2020. And what I want you to think about right now is where you will be December 2021. And of course, you know, we typically share that where you're going to be depends on you. It depends on the books that you read, the programs that you sign up for, the people that you surround yourself with. That's very, very important. And definitely not only the decisions that you make or what you learn or who you associate with, but the actions that you're taking. So if you reflect on 2020, what are some of the actions that you would have taken this year, and how it is that you can reflect on those to either continue doing the same things because it worked well, tweak those a little bit, or what are the new actions that you will have to take as you move forward. So it's about thinking about this. And so begin thinking, even as we go through this, where it is that you want to be in the next 12 months and what is that's going to be required to take you there. So we've had a few more people join the conversation, and if you've just joined, going to encourage you to put in the chat your name as well as your company name so that we know who's on and that others can continue to see you. And one question that we asked earlier is, why are you here? Why have you joined this conversation to learn more about this particular program? So please continue to share that in the chat. You would see the rhythm of that based on the responses that we have been getting. So this program was designed for us to be able to take additional persons through to where they would like to be in 2021, in 12 months from now. And particularly persons who've done a program before and would like to re-engage in community and would like something new for them, something interesting to do. So it's a mix of that, but we were keeping this in mind as we looked at what do we offer that's different for you in 2021. So the program that we're going to be talking about today, it's Action Masterclass, and it's a group coaching program. It's a group program that's a mix of both education and accountability. Education because there is re-education that is required, and education because what we'll be doing is deepening what you would have learned from another program if you have done something like Action Club before, because we do have a number of people here who've done Action Coach before. So it is a mix of education and accountability. And it's a rolling 10 months program. So you start up and it pretty much lasts the full year. We'd be starting in January and going through until late November next year. So not going into running all the way into December next year, because we understand what that period is like. So it is a 10 months program around education as well as accountability. The sessions are every other week. So it's every 2 weeks, meaning 2 weeks per month. And the 2 sessions that we have each month are for 2.5 hours. And what we want to do is we want to build community in these groups that we're looking at. So this is not a program that's going to be like a large webinar with 60 people on or even 50 on. We were very specific in targeting specific groups of persons to join this, and to build community, we want the group to be small. So we are going to be doing multiple groups. So if we have 50 people who come on board, it doesn't mean that we're putting all 50 persons in one group. We would be having groups of 10 for sessions. And the reason for that is for you to be able to build relationships as a community as well. What begins to happen when you work through a program together is that peer accountability emerges. You may not have observed that much if you'd gone through something like an action club that lasts over 3 months, because the level of interaction is a little different. However, this year I went through a program 30X, and if you want to hear about that, we can share that with you. And I'm just mentioning it here in the context of community and how it works over a period of time. Is having gone through 30 sessions together, what has happened with that group is that there's a certain camaraderie, and they're moving on to a new program. There is peer accountability that takes place. There is a deeper sharing that takes place, so that people are sharing experiences and examples, so that you're learning and growing not only from your coach, but from other business owners who are a part of it. And so when we look at the strength of community and the relationships being built, so that you have a strong support unit even within that group, not only for accountability, but really for support, we don't want to have too many people in that group. And so we're limiting the groups to 10 members, we would call it, in this masterclass. And we have the sessions 2 weeks apart so that you have time to implement. Can't keep you accountable to just learning. So the accountability is really based on your implementing. Also, what we found was that with Action Club, people may not have had time to implement some of the things. So we're looking at a 10-month period of your implementing things. But when you're implementing new things, because there is a space between each session, between the education, you have time to implement during that period as well. So these are some of the factors that we look at when we design the program, because it's about the results and the outcomes that we would like you to be able to take. And so there's a strong focus on implementation and enabling you to do that based on how it is that the program is designed. And so we have that time in between. Naturally, we'd be giving you workbooks and additional learning material as we had done before. And that additional learning material could include short ebooks that support learning. There is a series of approximately 10 ebooks that we have. And so as necessary, aligned with those sessions, you'd receive that. And then I definitely spoke about the support and community within the group so that you have that trusted network. Supporting or weekly or monthly sessions, which is 2 per month. What we want to do is to set up a group where we can interact in between sessions. The thinking now is that it could be a private Facebook group. However, it could also be by WhatsApp. Some people are now very accustomed to that platform and like to interact that way, checking in with persons, sending updates, asking questions. And so supporting the sessions that we would have every other week is going to be the use of a platform. So it won't definitively be Facebook. As we create the groups and we have the members start, if there's a preference for Facebook or for a WhatsApp group, then we can make that selection at that time. However, what we definitely want to do is to have communication and support in between the sessions to help strengthen the network and where we can give each other support. So this is pretty much what we're looking at in terms of the program. What we're going to cover are things that reflect our 6 steps, which we'll mention. It's about setting the future and planning. Of course, this is always the very first thing that we start with from the perspective of destination mastery as an elemental thing, something that is critical for that foundation when we look at it. And very important right now, because the plans that you had before, the future that you had designed before, you may have to redesign, simply because there are so many factors now to consider and so many changes that have taken place industries have been transformed. Economies are looking different. And when I say economies, because I'm not thinking only of the local economy here in Jamaica, but there are other economies that are changing, being reshaped, that will influence your business. And so your future may look different, and we want you to recognize that and to plan for a future that you still design, but in the context of today's environment and what we project that we'll see moving forward. Another foundation is going to be time mastery, which comes down to self-mastery. If it is that you're going to be moving forward, building a business that is going to serve the life and the future that you want, then it's important that we get to definitely time mastery. A number of persons would have started implementing some of the things from previous programs. However, the consistency may not be there, or no, what you want to do is to expand that to the wider team. So while I'm speaking to you directly in terms of how it is that you do this, for a number of persons, it's going to be how it is that you're applying it to your entire company now, or even for a new venture. So there are different approaches and different thinkings as you look at each of these topics in terms of what's relevant. Definitely mastering the numbers is something that we're going to look at, and I'll talk about each of these in turn. It's important to look at both marketing and sales and how these are new and different in this new environment as things change. You may have systemized your business in a particular way, and you probably have to change how that is, or you had not systemized before, and now it is time to do that. Delivery, how it is that you're getting your products and services out to your customers and clients, and doing that consistently. A number of persons have changed their means of delivery just in 2020. And so how do you look at it based on what you've already changed? But based on the changes that you anticipate, how do you have to redesign, readapt, reshape your delivery now in terms of what that looks like, and what's the experience for your customers? Speaking about experience for customers, it's looking at customer service and customer service now, what that looks like. And to make it all happen, of course, there is both team and leadership that we look at. And finally, there is mindset. And it's the kind of mindset, the kind of thinking that's going to be required for you to go through in this new phase, in a new year, but in a new period for your life. So when we look at setting the future, we will look at a number of things that we already do. Setting your RAS, how does that work, which is your reticular activating system. Goal setting, 90-day planning, participation quarterly in our growth club sessions, and how it is that we keep you accountable through the period to the plans that you have set for each quarter. And looking back at your vision, mission, your purpose statement, we'll expand the discussions here. So traditionally, people talk about vision, mission. We're also going to delve into things like your purpose, your sandbox, specific areas where you want to dominate, where you want to focus, culture. These are the things that are going to be important. So it's about all these things now that are building the foundation of your business and setting the future again, because even though you may have done this, do you have to redo it? Do you have to reassess at this time? And for some of you, it's just time to do this as we go through, and particularly at the start of a new year. So when we talk about the planning and looking at the future, the goals that you're setting, that's about the have, the life you would like to have. The goals are the outcomes, the things that the business will accomplish. But in order for you to have these things, there are certain actions that you'll have to take. And so that's where the do comes in. And for that, that's why we're building in the education part of it, which I'm going to talk about next. It is sometimes that we don't know what to do. And sometimes it's that we know what to do, but we don't feel adequately equipped to be able to do it. And so we don't get the results in terms of we don't get to have, because there are some things that we have to work on when it comes to do. And for that, there is the learning to better equip you to take better quality actions so that you have the outcomes. And a part of the do as well is about the planning that has to be done from that perspective. And we spoke about self-mastery, we spoke about mindset. And so the B part of the equation is about the person you need to be during this time. So when we have accountability sessions twice per month. And when you're showing up twice per month for 10 months doing things, it's about the person that you're becoming. And so even when you're setting the future, you want to define as well who's the person that you will be at the end of this period, who's the person that you envision your being or becoming 12 months from today. So this is the formula for life success. Be times do is equal to have. Who you're being times the actions that you're taking is what's going to give you the results, the have. From this perspective. And so just to go into a little bit of detail into the education parts of it was when it comes to time mastery. We've shared multiple times, whether it's through Action Club or through our one-day time mastery workshops, about the disciplines that you need to have to generate more time for yourself in your life for the things that are of greatest value. And we've spoken about and provided the tools. What happens though is that sometimes you're not consistent in it, and it doesn't come down to you. There are things that disrupt our lives for short periods. We've probably experienced a number of disruptions this year in 2020. I know I personally have experienced disruptions. And when you have those disruptions and you're addressing some things, the rhythm and the schedule that you may have had, you've had to change it, or you've just had to put it aside to work on some things. And then picking up again on it is something that may not be as easy. And so revisiting time mastery and self-mastery, nothing wrong with that, because this is something that we all have to do from time to time. When we look at time, it's also about the importance of working on your business as opposed to working in your business. And it's not even so much as opposed to, it's really in addition to working in your business. Some of the things that you may have recognized this year, and I'd love for you to, in the chat, just comment here on what are some lessons that you've had with respect to time and self-mastery coming out of 2020, and what are some things that you need to work on in this area? So feel free to just comment in the chat on any of the sections that you want to, because when we ask the question about why you're here, if one of these topics is really one of the areas that you want to work on, please feel free to put that there. And so what I was saying is that when you looked at 2020 and the lessons that you got from it, one of them might have been that you worked in the business and things worked well for an ongoing day-to-day operations in the business. However, had you put more time into working on the business, maybe you would have had a more resilient business. Maybe you would have had a rhythm of working on the business and designing things, building relationships that would have better taken you through this period. And so there could be some lessons that you've had now that makes you realize that it is just as important to be working on the business as it is to be working in the business. For some of us, most of the work now is actually on the business rather than in the business, either because we're changing or because we are starting. For me, and I just to share as an example, my own personal business, I'd hibernated during the period of the COVID-19 because of the kind of business and the impact and the changes at that time. And also it's about what are the lessons and what's the direction for my industry moving forward. So most of the time for you, maybe working on your business and not so much in the business. For some of us, most of the time now is working in the business to get through this period, and because you have to be responsive just immediately to growing and varying client and customer needs and requirements. And while we focus on you, when we look at time mastery, what we want to do is to now have time mastery across your entire organization. And so for some of you, it may be now that you want to get the default diary, induction schedule, all of these things working fully across your team and working more effectively. When we talk about the tools such as the default diary, the daily frog sheets, doing a skills fund matrix, maybe department by department, person by person, and then coming back together and taking lessons from it, digging deeper into delegation skills. And so when we do time mastery, we're not just going to cover it off in the session and it's about education and providing the tools. it's about digging deeper and really mastering your time, being able to assess your time, what percentage of your time is spent here, what's the return on some things, and then how it is that you're able to benchmark where you are at the start of the program to the end of the program with respect to even something like the skills fund matrix of where are your hours going. So these are things that we would be looking at in time mastery as we go through. Again, it is that we'd be going deeper in this particular area for time mastery. So these are the topics. Again, if you have any questions, just please feel free to drop that into the chat. Any questions, any comments, you know, and one of the things that you could add in the chat as well is, are there any of these areas that you have continued to implement in your business that has really worked for you? That's something that you can share with other persons who are on the call. Numbers, numbers, numbers. We all love the numbers. And one of the things for sure that 2020 might have shown us is how important this is, how important it is to be managing your cash flow, knowing how many days of cash you have. Monitoring future cash flow to know how it is that you now have to plan for cash today. What do you do for cash generation? How do you stretch payments? Really about managing your cash gap are some of the things that we will look at. So while we go deeper into this, it's about the practice of doing this month to month. What kind of monthly reporting and accountability is required here? And so for that reason, it's not only the education of knowing and understanding your numbers, because when we get to the education of knowing and understanding your numbers, we are going to dig deeper. And we are going to dig deeper, not only in just reading the financials, but understanding ratios, a number of things like that, planning for the future. But that accountability and that keeping track of things is you'll be developing your own business dashboard. So once you have your business dashboard, you're going to be using that month to month during the period. And once the program ends, and by the time the program ends, you would have the discipline of reviewing your monthly dashboard to see where your business is and how your business is performing from a month to month period, and supporting that, of course, with testing and measuring. So we are going to be looking at numbers mastery as one of the things, again, going deeper, but really focused on implementation and understanding that you may have to customize a number of the tools that we have provided, or looking at the tools and services, the systems that you are already using. How is it that you can get the same results by just tapping into the things that you currently use at this time? Marketing is really very important. So if you notice that figure, the picture that we have there, it's up, you know, with that magnet is how do you simply attract customers, and not just anyone that's going to come in and shop with you, but how are you attracting ideal customers? First of all, defining who your ideal customers and learning to communicate with them in particular. And in order to do that, it's looking at, you know, we've spoken before about a unique selling proposition, but it's also about the unique value proposition. People are now very minded and very concerned and looking out for value. And so what is the value proposition that you have? Is it a time to consider a guarantee? Even if it's something that you monitor internally, is about digging deeper into these things is what we're going to be looking at. Now, with the 5 ways profit formula, when we talk about marketing, looking at lead generation and tracking, again, you see at the bottom there, T and M, testing and measuring, is about making sure that we are testing and measuring so that you know what is the return on investment for your marketing. Putting the things in place, implementing, testing and measuring so that you can assess the return on investment, and so that you can compare as well which of the channels are working best for you, which offers work best, what happens in particular periods. So it's not only going to be an education in terms of how to market and promote, but how is it that you're making marketing work? And, you know, we spoke about numbers mastery before. The numbers mastery is going to be tied into the marketing, because we want to be measuring the return on investment for marketing, and for you to be able to measure results so that you know what's happening there. And with that as well is, how could you improve through your marketing just the profile of the customers and the clients that you have? So when you look at the ladder of loyalty, and you look at, do I have raving fans? Do I have advocates? All of these things is to be able to define who these groups are. How do you know when they get there? What are the things that they're doing? And how are you supporting them? So do you have something that's proactive, a rewards program, a membership program, that things that are built in that may also tie into the value proposition and the value that you're offering to your customers and to your clients? You'll notice there are a couple of things that we've added that you may not have seen in an action club before, specifically social media. So that's something that's going to be introduced. We realize how important that is at this time, and for a number of reasons, and we can all acknowledge that, don't have to justify it. I think you can see quite easily why that would be included. And then looking back at marketing strategy, we may have introduced a marketing strategy, shared with you a template, but making sure that everything is strategic as you design and execute your marketing. So marketing is one of the areas where we'll definitely go a lot deeper in terms of making sure that it's something that works. And it's not only looking at the tools and the campaigns, it's the fundamentals of it, so that the program ends, you're well equipped, you know your market, you know your ideal customers, and you're able to continue to improve, develop, amend your marketing strategies, as well as your communications and your promotions beyond the program, because this is about the sustainability of what it is. So when you look more deeply at the 5 ways when we talk about marketing, it's no longer a principle. What you'll be doing through this program is really applying. We talk about the dashboard with the numbers, and we've spoken about testing and measuring. So it's actively month to month looking at these things, assessing the leads, which are your prospects or your potential customers. How many are you generating? Where are they coming from? It's about digging deeper and getting the understanding so that we're supporting you fully on the execution. The conversion rate, and when you look at conversion rate, it's the intelligence behind it. Who are the ones that are actually purchasing? So a conversion rate says to you what percentage of them are actually buying, but it's how can you look into the data? How could you follow up through surveys, through questionnaires, just interviews, to find out what's the difference with those that bought, so that you know, learning from it, how to apply these to continue to improve your conversion rate. So we're going beyond just the learning to the measuring and the understanding of it. And then we want to look then at your customers. How are you managing them? So it's not just understanding the profile of your customers, but it's about the customer management as well. This will then help you to improve the number of transactions, which is the average number of times they buy from you. We want you to know and understand, are they just coming and purchasing once and then they're gone? Or are you capping out at a certain number? What's happening there? What's happening with the average dollar sale? Is that shifting? Is that going up? Is that going down? Is that telling you anything about how the profile of your customer is changing, or how market situations are influencing your business in particular? So we want you to be asking the questions, the right questions, consistently, so that you know what your numbers are telling you. It's not just about having the numbers, it's about interpreting them. So it's about an intelligence so that you're making better decisions as we go through, to say, okay, yes, I'm moving towards the revenue that I want, with the margin that is desired in order to give me the profit that I want. Understanding that the profit that I want is a profit that is going to help me to build the business that I want, to allow me to work on the business, to grow the business, but also for a return for you as a business owner. Ultimately, we really want to look at profit. That's very important, but knowing that profit is coming from revenue, which comes from our customers, and it's based on these 5 drivers. However, it's not just the numbers that we're going to be looking at. It's about understanding and interpreting the numbers is what is going to be very, very important for us at this time. So these are the things that we want to cover, and really this is about telling you how it is that we're going in greater detail. When it comes to sales, one desired outcome is for every person who goes through this to have a completed, a fully documented sales process. What is your sales process from the first point of contact with your prospect all the way through to when they become a shopper, which is when they purchase with you? So what's your sales process that's going to take you through to conversion? But we also want a sales process that comes on the back end. Some people call that after sales. What are you doing there with your customer management? And really drilling down to once you define your sales process, so that you have a written sales process. But then related to that, you now have written scripts. What are the questions that you are going to be using? And we are definitely going to dig deeper and help you now with training on how it is that you handle objections during a sales process. So it's a lot more equipping you to actually carry out and do successful sales at this time. So the focus again is not this is what sales is, this is how to do it, is that you're actually going to be doing it and you're able to test and make comparisons. So one of the ways that we'll do instruction in terms of using questions to improve your conversion as well as handling objections is role play examples, how it is that you will actually do those and how it is that you can do that in your business, in your own company as well. I've not yet seen any questions or any comments in the chat. So again, let me just welcome you, invite you, please just drop any comments or questions in the chat. Comments could be about how it is that you have already been implementing something, what's working well for you, and what you might need. But really very importantly is as I speak to you about each of the areas that's covered in this program is where am I in this particular area? What would I need? And so how is this program a match for me? So keep thinking that through as we go through all of them, is what I would say. When I mentioned systems at the start, I mentioned it from the perspective that you may not yet have systems, or you may have systems. However, because you've changed your delivery, you've changed your product, you've changed your marketing, so many things have changed, you now have to recreate them. But also you may want to look at what's the process behind it, how do I manage it so that I'm more flexible. So again, when we talk about digging deeper is assessing your systems. Do I have something that's built for the future? Do I have something that is going to be responsive? Do I have something that's meeting the needs? So it's not simply changing the documentation or beginning to write the documentation. It's just making sure that it's going to work for you for today, as well as for next year and the following year. And what are all the things that you're systemizing, that it's not only the process of delivering your product or service, or do you have a system and a process for customer interaction? Do you have a system and a process for team development? So these are all the things that we want to look at. It's a much wider way. So we're widening systems, but also deepening it to some extent with a number of things like that. And you're probably already saying that this is something that could be intense. Yes, chances are it's going to feel intense for you. And the reason for that is, what do you want to have at the end of it? So by going through something that's intensive for 10 months, 20 sessions, and we can revise that because we might need to realize that we need an additional session. So it may be intensive because of the outcome. So when you focus on the outcome, and we're focused on the outcome that we want for you from it, that is the reason that we're looking at it as something. That's the reason it's something that is so robust when we've designed it. Team and leadership. We always say that it begins with you in terms of your own leadership. So this is something that is relevant and that we talk about. So it's about your own leadership skills. We will share with you, however, even though we'll touch on leadership, because leadership is going to be later on in the program towards the end of it. So that's looking at the end of the year, but you might need to work on your leadership earlier. So we will share with you other leadership things, such as our leadership masterminds that we may be having through our John Maxwell stream for leadership. So your own leadership skills, we'll work on that as well. But we'll share with you related programs for you to work on that. Where it is at the timing for leadership specifically is a little later in the program. And we definitely want to focus on how it is that you're now going to find, recruit, and retain staff when it comes to team. This is a challenge that people have had. You're probably changing your staffing model, your recruiting model at this time in particular. What has happened with some people is that they've had an opportunity now to get better skills. So where you have more people in the workforce because of whether it was laying off or, rethinking, companies have closed, maybe you have access to a better pool of persons. However, there are some risks as well. There are some industries where people are inactive for a while. And so are their skills being developed? Are institutions being responsive enough in terms of reskilling, upskilling persons? And so when it comes to your training, internal training, how will you have to reshape that? What are some things that you need to consider there? So these are some of the things that we want to look at. And very importantly, when it comes to team, is how are you developing the members of your team so that you can step out of the business, so that they can step up when it's required. So as we went through a challenging year, maybe you needed people in the business to step up, but how can you empower, equip, train, develop others in your business that will be able to step up to greater responsibilities, bigger responsibilities? However, we want you to be able to recognize this, and we want you to recognize the people once they're in. But when we talk about recruiting, we want you to be looking out for that as early as possible in the recruiting process. And so that's something that we'll go into in some detail with that. So just want to mention that. And again, none of this is going to be possible without the right mindset. There's this quote here from Jim Rohn, which you may have heard from us before: never wish your life were easier, wish that you were better. This program is something that we've designed with you in mind to make you better. However, it's about your mindset, because you can get the tools, you can apply the tools. However, if your beliefs don't support your actions, you won't get the results that you want to. And so you'll need the right mindset to raise your performance. You'll need the right mindset and the right beliefs to empower and to raise your team. You'll need the right mindset to overcome the setbacks. There are so many people that may not make it through this period, not because of the kind of business that they're in or things that are happening in their particular industry. It could simply be that they just didn't have the mindset to overcome the setbacks, or it might have been the belief, the persistence, the perseverance that they needed. And so that this is something that is going to become really very important, because this is what can make the difference. It's not just what you know. The performance gap, according to Christian Simpson, a coach of coaches, is the difference between what you know and what you do. And sometimes we don't get over that gap, that performance gap, because of the mindset that we have. And so it's about breaking through the glass ceiling. If you've read or listened to the 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership, you're familiar with the law of the lid. You're not going to get beyond your level of thinking. So this is something that's really very important. We speak about setting the future, the planning. This is about reaching your true potential. Without the right mindset, you can put it on paper, but without the right mindset, you may actually not reach it. And so, yes, this is business coaching. We are going to be talking about systems, finance, cash, marketing, sales. However, mindset is something that's absolutely, absolutely important to this. So I just want to mention here, and as again, most of you would be familiar with this, that you may need to change. When you think about, and we ask the question, why are you here? Meaning joining this session, considering this program, it's about the change that you would like to see in your business and possibly in your life. It's about the change that you'd like to see taking place, or the change that you would like to facilitate and to actually do in 2021. So you may need to change. It's not just that the thing's going to change. It's not just that the actions are going to change. You may have to change. And so, it's about that reflection on, what are you dissatisfied with right now? Is it simply the outcomes from 2020? Is it the dissatisfaction of the kind of business that you have built up to this point? How resilient was it? How flexible was it? Is the dissatisfaction around your leadership and the team that you've had up to this point? And so when you think about it, the change that is required now could be a massive change, simply because you're forced to know with all of this, or because you have that strong desire for it. And that strong desire is linked to your vision, that aspiration. So what's the life you're aspiring for? And what's the business that you would like? So what's the vision? How has the vision changed? Has this year forced you to change the outlook? And for many persons, it's not that it's caused it to shrink, is that it's caused your vision to expand. Because as we move to digital, it's removed certain barriers. It's lowered the cost of entry for some industries. And so your vision may simply be massive right now. So what's the vision? And if your vision is now huge, how may you need to change in order to get to this vision? And then what are the first steps? So, with mindset, and we're going to talk about mindset, we can help you through this, and we're going to equip you with the first steps, the actions, through all of the other areas. However, all of this is going to be important for you to overcome the resistance, which is that R. What's the resistance? Because you may identify the dissatisfaction, study it and know exactly what it is with the numbers behind it as evidence. You may articulate and write that vision, your mission, your purpose, your unique value proposition, how you envision your customer experience being. And you may have a solid, well-written 90-day plan and produce one every quarter. However, if there are some things that are going to cause the resistance in terms of what will actually make it happen, if the left side of the equation isn't great enough, then when you come upon that resistance, and it could just simply be mindset, it could be your level of belief that we're looking at, then will you overcome the resistance? And so it's very important. And as I talk about that in terms of the resistance, because the resistance is what's going to limit the results. And the results are things that are coming from our actions, decisions, and behaviors. While the program sets out and will help you to improve the results because it's equipping you for your decisions, it's equipping you for your actions, it comes down to your behaviors. And for the behaviors to improve, which will help to improve your decisions and your actions, that you get the results that you want to, you have to go beneath the surface. And beneath the surface is about the skills. We can equip you with the skills. However, once you have the skills, which will improve the other areas, what about your beliefs? And we may have to shift some beliefs at the very start, beliefs in your ability to successfully get through this program. Don't let that limit you. You can get through this program and get the results that you want to, regardless of whatever has happened in any program before this. What are your values? We recognize that for some people, their values may have changed, may have shifted during this period. A lot of what we saw was a focus and just the importance of people at this time. And so looking back at some of the things that you value, these are some of the things that we may have to get down to, and even your identity, so that when you look now at this formula for change in terms of the resistance, if there is, we want you to understand all the things that can cause any resistance. Is it skill? Is it belief? Is it values? Is it identity? And it's about working through these so that you can get the results that you want to and the change that you want to. What do you need to change in any of these so that you're changing the results? And very importantly, it's about managing your environment as well. So, we looked at a number of the areas that we're going to be covering in the program. We're looking at setting your future, time, numbers, marketing, systems, customer service. These are all the areas. When you think about your business now, how are you scoring in these? So there's this little meter there, and you can think about it and just, visualize the meter moving across for your business and for each of these. And if you go between excellent and poor, where are you with each of them? And if you're not excellent in all of these areas, then is the decision that you need to take to do this program or some program that's going to take you towards that. So it's just about reflecting now on where you stand with respect to each of these. And you may be excellent in some, but only average in a few others. However, what's going to be required for you next year for you to get to where you want to be 12 months from now? Is it excellence or is it just average? And this program, just to remind you of our definition of a successful business, it's a commercial, profitable enterprise that works without you. This is what we're working with you to build during the the coming 12 months. So in that period next year, this is going to be the focus. And what you'll notice if you're familiar with our 6 steps coaching system, which I'll run through quickly, is we have our 6 steps. At the foundation is mastery. And the areas of mastery are destination mastery, where are you going? Delivery mastery, are you consistently getting your products and services to your customers as you've described it to them? Financial mastery in terms of knowing your numbers, and then time or self-mastery comes down to self-discipline and a number of things. Niche is about having a unique selling proposition, a unique value proposition, and being absolutely clear with that so that you're attracting the right customers to you. Related to niche is the 5 ways, because what we want to look at the level of niche, which is the second step, is that you are predictably generating revenue and cash in your business. And that predictability comes from the 5 ways, which we mentioned that we're going to be covering in the program. The 5 ways of lead generation, so that you're generating leads, converting them to get customers, working on your average dollar sales, the number of transactions or the frequency of persons coming to you, and then of course profit margin. So really working on these areas. And once you have that predictable cash flow at the area of niche, we then want to get to leverage, which is where you're looking at systemizing for greater efficiency. And talking about systemizing for greater efficiency, we are going to be focusing on those 4 ways: people and education. And that's where we talk about culture. We've spoken about culture, and we spoke about the area of team, some of the things that we put in there. This is where we talk about systems and systemizing the business. Delivery mastery, making sure that what you're producing for and getting to your customers or clients is done to the quality standards that are defined, and that it's being done consistently. New ways of getting to your customers, so it's about distribution as well. And just throughout everything, it's about the testing and measuring. And we do all of that before we get to the step of team, that's building a team. And once you have all that in place, things are working smoothly. That's what we describe as synergy. And then you get the results that you want to. So the 10 months program with these topics that we've gone through is designed to take you through the 6 steps. So that you go through mastery, you go through niche, you attain leverage, and then you're building a team. And you should be at that point able to make the decision of what is your role. We want you to be able to define the specific role in your business you would like to have, and have the freedom to take up that role and only that role. So that's the freedom that we'd like to give to you. So just to recap in terms of what's included in the membership program, this rolling 12-month accountability and education program, is that it is 2.5-hour sessions every month. So it's every other week. You have that fortnight in between. For implementation, we're limiting each group to 10 members. And by limiting the groups to 10 members, we're able to build that community, that kind of support that's needed, and where you eventually get to some amount of peer accountability as well. And when you're focused on doing something intensively and at a deeper level over a longer period, you have time to implement, and you have a coach working with you for the full period in order to do it. Again, there'll be workbooks as well as additional learning materials that are provided to you. And then there's a support and community within the group. So you're building that trusted network. And I mentioned before that we would have a group system as well, so that it's not only the every other week, but in between, what do you have there as well? What do you have to reach out? So, you're doing a testing and measuring, and you come upon a question or you want feedback. Does someone have that, that kind of information? Is a group like this is able to support, and this will be well managed. So it's not just going to be any and everything that we're posting and sharing. It's about keeping you focused towards where it is that you want to get to. All right, so these are the things that we want to look at and focus on with you throughout this program. So please feel free to just send any questions, chats, comments on the program, any aspect of it as we go through, but really this is what we're looking at. So what we have here is that to get ahead, you pretty much just have to get started. people talk about lots of secrets, and really it's about just moving forward. So want to share with you now what the investment is. How does this differ from other programs? So we said that it's a monthly program, so naturally we'll be able to give you a monthly investment option, and that monthly investment for membership is $350 plus GCT every month. We always give you the option of taking advantage of discounts. Basically, it's a time of managing cash flow, managing exchange rate changes, etc. And so as we do with our one-to-one coaching program, we do want to give you the option of getting savings, getting benefits for a better return on your investment. So some persons prefer to get the advantage of paying earlier before we have any exchange rate changes. And so persons who want to pay upfront for the full duration of the program there's a 10% discount, so it's $3,150 plus GCT, or you may want to pay quarterly, and if you pay quarterly, there's a 5% discount. So the investment every quarter is $997 US dollars. And we're going to be starting in January 2021, January 27. So we're starting closer to the end of January because we want to give you time to settle down, following the start of the year. But I wanted to share with you as well a bonus, and we're going to send you, when we're finished, an email with this bonus in terms of what it is to offer. So what we want to do is when you register, so you've attended already, so having registered to attend, you already have free access to our Growth Club planning session that's coming up. And Growth Club is December 10, so we have a little time for that. So we will definitely send that to you because you've already, by attending, achieved that. And in terms of getting started, so we're sharing here what the total investment is, and you've participated. I'm going to share with you a link if you'd like to go ahead to register. And if you register today on that link, there's actually going to be a discount for the first month. So the offer that we have today is once you register, if you register today, then if your first month, that investment is going to be $300 US dollars plus GCT and not $350. So that's what we're offering for you today. So, you may say that, my goodness, this is something that sounds great. I'd be crazy not to do this. What I would say to you is I am really, really looking forward to working on this program, to deliver this coaching program with you as members. It's always a joy for me to work with small groups of persons, build community, and for people to just work through this. So, let's do this is what we're saying. And the decision around moving forward and doing it is forget all the excuses. Yes, this has been a crazy year, and there are so many things happening, but just forget all the excuses. Face reality, and facing reality is about moving away from denial. The reality is, where is your business right now? The reality is, what do you need to do now for your business to take your business through to where it is that you need to take it to? So, touching on the point of power, please just focus on that. No excuses, no denial, and definitely no blame when you think about it. And instead, move to that ownership. And that ownership is own the results that you want. So when we put a point out there in terms of where do you want to be 12 months from now, that is something that you own, because you are going to, in terms of the outcomes that you want, you're creating that. And so you own that, you own the vision, you own your business. And so the results that you're going to be getting, that's something that you own. And so you have to take responsibility for that. And so in taking responsibility, is this one way that's going to help you with that? Is this one way that's going to help you with that? And the good thing about this program is that there's accountability. So there's accountability from the coach, and then there's accountability from others as well.
I'm
So
coming back. The red package.
please
Coming back,
consider
bring
that
it
for
up
me,
for me.
please.
All right, thanks.
All right. So yes, just pausing for that. And again, just send any questions in the chat. So what I'm going to ask Afrika to do now is to share. So it's time to take action. What I have here is the link so that you can just snap it if you want to, or you can just go ahead and enter it in your device. I'm going to ask Afrika to just put in the chat now to everyone the link for registering, remembering that there is an offer today, that if you sign up today then and register today, there's a discount where you get $300 for the first month, and then you can do the monthly payments thereafter. So she has now posted in the chat, that's the link is there. Now, I know some of you have great eyes and you're like, there's a T missing. There's a T missing, but the link works. So we didn't make the change because we want to make sure that you can get on and register. But we would definitely love to see you participate in this Action Masterclass that we have coming up. It is something that has been designed for you. What I will say at the close is if you have more questions about it, I'm your coach for it. Some of you already have my information. You can reach out to me. However, we'll be working with you through the process of figuring out if this is the best thing for you and if it's the best timing, and if not, should you be doing something else. And so myself and Andreen, we're going to be available to speak to you, walk you through the process, answer any questions, shoot questions to Afrika as well. We're here to support you to make the decision as you have anything. However, you may already have enough information because you're familiar with our programs, you've worked with us, and this is something that fits perfectly in line with where you are, what it is that you want to do. And so please feel free, if you wanted, to just go ahead and register, especially with the offer that we have today. And so with that, I would just like to say thank you. Thank you for taking the time to learn about this new program that we have worked on using the model from an international firm in terms of the UK, but really refining it for something that can work for you. And do let us know if you have any questions about it. Thank you very much. I will not run just now. I know a few of you have to go and I'm seeing those messages. So thank you very much for being a part of the presentation and for being here. Send any questions that you have or just feel free to go to the link. But what I'll do is I'll just stay now. And if there are any questions that you have, you could just open mic and ask those questions, or please feel free to put those questions in the chat as well. So the chat remains open, and you can put any questions there. So do you have any questions? I know some persons prefer to ask the questions one-on-one, and they're going to pick up the phone and call either myself or Andreen with the questions. So yes, go ahead.
Are you hearing me?
Yes, I'm hearing you.
Okay. I had said earlier that I was interested because I'm having to restructure a family business, not my business, but a family business, which I'm having to now probably step into and have a more active role. But so does this training, is it available to more than one? In other words, my sibling and I would be the ones who would really be interested. So is it something that we'd have to pay for two, or would it be something that's what I was asking.
Okay, I'll respond to you directly on that, Heather. So we'll come back to you on that. The recommendation is with all of our programs is that we design for the decision maker and for the person with responsibility for implementation. So if it's going to be both of you, then definitely you and your sibling should be a part of it. And what we'll do is we'll look at what that investment would be for both of you, because it's one company that's doing it, so that you can work together. However, when you're looking at availability and commitment, then we would definitely want to have that commitment from both of you to be present, so that you can get the results that you want in restructuring that family business. So we will come back to you from that. So So yes, please go ahead. And again, persons send emails to Africa. You may call Andrina as well, and you can send your questions to me as well. There is a question from one person. So the question is, someone was planning to do Action Club. Would I recommend this instead, even though you've never done Action Club before? So Action Club is a much lighter version of this, and Action Club, you'll get the lessons in 14 sessions. However, it will definitely not be as deep. What typically happens with Action Club is persons who do Action Club will move on to doing another program. And so if you have the time commitment, if you're able to invest in doing this 10-month program, then I would definitely suggest that you do the 10-month program because the learning is deeper, and so you're diving deeper, and you'd be in a group with persons who've probably already started implementing, and you can learn from them as well. So that would be my recommendation. So what Afrika is doing in the chat is she's putting numbers and email addresses. So for anyone who wants to contact us, you'll see Afrika's email address and number there. Afrika, just add the last digit to your mobile number, please, so that persons can contact you. So just make that amendment to your mobile. And a related question is this option better for a new company? The reason I think that this option is better for a new company is that there is greater hand-holding in terms of the accountability and working things through. You won't feel as alone in the implementation, and it's over a longer period. And so as you're building the company, as you're starting the company, you're implementing as you go. And I think that this is something that's very good for new companies as well. New companies are not our main target. However, we have worked with companies, and when you're as young as you are, when you're new, you're able to design everything from the ground up, even if you don't get a chance to implement everything. And so if you learn something in month 3, but you're not implementing until month 8, then at least you're still in the program to get the support for implementing. And so that's my recommendation with that, from that perspective. So what you'll note too is, so I'm just going to ask you, Andreen, feel free to put your number in the chat as well, because I know persons may want to call you back with any questions. So just feel free to put your number in the chat, Andreen, for persons to reach out to you. And there is one question about DBJ assistance, and the thinking right now is that it doesn't typically fall under the DBJ assistance program. So if you're doing the straight Action Club program, the DBJ voucher would cover it ideally. What it could be used for DBJ assistance, it depends on the payment option that you choose. So if you're doing the monthly payment, it wouldn't be as valuable to you to use the DBJ voucher. It's greatest value if you're using either the quarterly payment or the single one-off payment for the DBJ voucher assistance, but it's not ideal for the monthly. It wouldn't be able to work for monthly. The DBJ voucher for technical assistance, for those who don't know, is there's a technical assistance voucher for a one-off service. And so it's not usually something that's used for multiple things, or which is an intervention like this over an extended period. They are flexible, and we've been able to do it for a number of things. And so this is ideally not something that we have envisioned. However, we can have that discussion with you regarding the DBJ voucher. But as I mentioned, it would not apply if you're paying monthly. The DBJ voucher would only apply if you're doing an upfront payment for the full 12 months. And so what you would do is apply for the coaching portion of the voucher to get that, and or quarterly payments, provided that the DBJ would work with us to facilitate that. All right, so we'll follow up with you on that. Any other questions? And your questions could be in the chat, or you could just open microphone and ask questions. Do you have any other questions? So it seems that we are all clear then about what it is about, and you have our number, so feel free please feel free to reach out to us if you have questions by phone or email. I know some of you have my email or phone, and you can just contact me directly with those questions. Please feel free to reach out to Afrika or Andrine, and we are definitely going to send you a follow-up email. So again, you have the link. We'll repeat the offer to you so that if you register today, you'll benefit from that offer of the discount, and we'll share the other offer with you in terms of your gift at this time. So thank you very much for participating. It really was good having you on, and we look forward to having you join. Well, I look forward to seeing you at Growth Club, and I'm definitely looking forward to coaching you through this program for you to build the business that you want and the kind of results that you would like to have for 2021. Thank you.